more of a marked increase for those who win, say in the first round, the second round, that sort of thing, because especially for Aussie wildcards that are picked, that's something that Tennis Australia has done a nice job of in terms of supporting their own. You get a home crowd win, you do actually get a financial reward out of it rather than just a nice little news article. So
even the whole point is, like, even the pro players, they're not just getting like pretty much all their first serves in or whatever. I mean, obviously, yeah, like we said, they're hitting at a higher pace, but it's not like you shouldn't just expect to be able to get your serve in every time. Like, it's not supposed to be easy.
And I'm going to say that because he has a point to prove this year, and that point to prove is I should be here after the saga of last year.
Okay, welcome back to the GAG Podcast. The AO is underway, the Australian leg, first Grand Slam of the year. I am here down under, but unfortunately not in Melbourne. I'm in actually a nicer place, so I can't complain too much. Merlin's still stuck in the UK, sadly for him. But we're here to delve into some AO stuff. Obviously, we're going to do the trivia kind of thing to kick us off, and discuss different points around that, and see if Merlin can better my fairly mediocre 3 out of 5. Although for me, that was pretty good, I think. I don't know.
Yeah, it's pretty. That's like an average for you.
Well, we'll start it off with a fairly easy one. All right, so let's get straight into it. First question: in women's tennis, who has won the Australian Open the most times? Then your options are Serena Williams, Steffi Graf, Maria Sharapova, or Martina Hingis.
Interesting. So this is interesting, actually, because when it comes to, say, Serena Williams' career, I don't know how often she was successful on that side of the world. That's a good one. That is a good one. All the options again? Just go through them again for me.
Serena, Steffi Graf, Sharapova, or Martina Hingis. I thought this would be an easy one.
Yeah, I know. I would have thought that, but I feel like, are we talking in the Open era?
Australian Open. What did it used to be called? Bonus point for that. No, you didn't know that either.
It used to be called the Australian Championships, didn't it?
Yes, it did.
Yeah.
Well,
interesting.
I'm not going to give you any clues.
I'm gonna go with Serena Williams. I think that's probably the best shout, but let's see.
And that is correct. He's off to a confident start there.
Yeah, a bit shaky to begin with. Because I tell you what, and the reason I was stuttering was I was thinking, because you didn't really emphasize the name of the tournament, I was thinking who's won the most, just, that competition. And in my head, the answer is Margaret Court. I remember seeing a statistic about her winning a lot of those, like seven or 8 or something like that. So yeah, that stumped me a bit. But yeah, Open era.
That is correct. Margaret Court did win the most. I think it was like 8 or 9. Do you know how many Serena won?
Oh, I don't think it's many. Like 3.
Nope.
Just 6, 7.
Yeah.
I clearly don't know. You can't just go. Just for all of you people who are listening and not watching the YouTube, Ben was pointing up. That was it.
Oh yeah. I realised. Yeah, that might sound a bit strange on recording.
Yeah, what's happening here? Anyway,
just silence. Yeah, she did actually beat her sister twice in the final, and she did beat Sharapova twice in the final as well. 7's quite a lot though, because I'm pretty sure the US Open she I don't think she would have won the US Open more than that, would she? And that was her home tournament. So there you go. She was pretty successful. I think she liked hard courts in general, really. Yeah, US Open 6 times. There you go. I mean, she won 23 in total. So
yeah,
if you can work out how many she won of the other ones, then you can sort of.
It's not like she's one of the GOATs or anything. Yeah.
Nah. Well, she didn't get the most, did she? So. So what's the point? Anyway, yes, 1 from 1. Okay, on to the men's side. I've got to include my boy in this, so it is a Federer question. For all the new fans are like, who's he? Never heard of him, mate.
Oh God, imagine. Oh no, I don't like it. No, carry on with the question. That'll ruin the episode.
So, Federer's last Grand Slam victory came in 2018, and it did come at the Australian Open. So I want to know, who did he beat to win the 2018 Australian Open? Was it Andy Murray, Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, or Marin Cilic? I feel like this should be an easy one. But it would be an easy one for me, but I don't know about for you.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think it's Marin Cilic. I keep wanting to. I really want to say Nadal because he was successful, but I think that was a year after. I think he was injured during that period, so I think it's Marin Cilic.
That is correct. Well done. Yeah, Federer beat Cilic in. I think it was 5 sets. So even though you would think that's an easier opponent, it doesn't matter really like who you play in that final. I mean, you got to play pretty blooming well to get to the final of a Grand Slam.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Unless you're Nadal and you're playing at the French Open in the final, then normally you just blast everyone anyway. But most of the time, if you get to the final, whoever you play, it's going to be a pretty tough match. So
it was the same for Novak Djokovic and Andy Murray. It was always a bit of a slog. I think there was once where it made it look easy for Novak, but it was always a tough tie.
God, yeah, that was that period where
it was just
Murray and Djokovic just played like the Australian Open final every year, and you were just like, oh, this is gonna.
It felt like an exhibition.
Even if it's 3 sets, it goes on for like 4 hours or something stupid.
Oh, Murray could win it this year. Oh.
Yeah, it's like, he needs to win the first set. Oh, no.
Yeah. Murray's 2 sets there. Oh.
Rinse and repeat. And then Novak could feign injury or something and then get in Murray's head. Yeah.
Yeah, anyway. Very clever.
Yeah,
anyway.
So that was Federer's 20th Grand Slam. So at the time, he was clear of the other guys by a few Grand Slams. I'm pretty sure. I think Nadal was on like 16 or 17 at that time. And he sort of thought, well, no one's probably going to catch him, really. And then, lo and behold, by like 4 years later, he's third in the list. So it's just crazy, like what these guys have been able to do to get that many slams. Like, I mean,
with each other about.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I don't know if we're ever going to see anyone get past 22. Like, even if Alcaraz stays injury free and like he's fairly dominant, that you got to do that consistently for like 10
this isn't the only sport where this is a question mark, because you look at, say, professional football, for example, and we're thinking about who can score the most goals, who could possibly overcome Cristiano Ronaldo's record for most goals, etc., club and country. People are like, well, Erling Haaland could, but just because the stats are good now doesn't mean that longevity, that consistency throughout the years, is that possible? So same with so many other things.
Yeah, I think they said with Haaland he has to score like 40 goals a season for like 15 years or something.
Yeah. And that's when you really realise, blimey, these guys were brilliant. So
yeah, we just took it for granted. Yeah, when these champions are gone, when Rafa's gone and Novak's gone, obviously Federer's already gone. Like, yeah, we've got to kind of still enjoy it while we can, I think.
We'll be those old codgers who are sitting back. Oh, I remember when it was pretty much decided who would win every Grand Slam. We knew it would be one of the four, one of the three, depending on your perspective. Blah blah blah, and then we'll be complaining in the future about you can never tell anymore.
Back in my day,
Yeah.
like shut up, Dad. All right. Okay. So we're on. What are we on? 2 from 2. Okay. Next one. Let's go for. We're going to go for a prize money question. Always got to include a bit of money in here because money makes the world go round after all. So this year, the Australian Open prize money has gone up again, and the total prize money pot has increased to about 100 million Australian dollars.
Blimey.
But what I want to know is what is the prize money for winning on both the men's and women's side. So if you win the final, how much money do you get to the nearest 100,000? So options are 1.8 million, 2.4 million, 3 million, or 3.2 million. Obviously all in Australian dollars. So you might have to do a bit of converting in your head.
Just go for that all again.
So 1.8.
1.8 Australian dollars.
Australian dollars. 2.4. 3 or 3.2. I would give you the exchange rate, but
no. I think well, again, all the articles out there about this have written it obviously in Australian Open dollars. Australian Open dollars, like Monopoly money. You can only exchange them in the gift shop. Australian dollars. Sorry, I forget you're a country. So no.
Me, I'm a person.
Yeah. Anyway, I think it's near enough 3 million. I think it's just under 3 million Australian dollars.
So are you going for 3?
Yeah, we're going to go for 3 this year.
That is correct again. Yeah, I hate the fact you've been reading and researching. Like, how dare you? I don't do any of that. Hence why
I hate the fact that you do your job.
No, you're supposed to. You can't be getting them all right. Come on, the people have got to be able to relate to you. Got to get a couple.
Okay,
wrong.
I'll get the next one wrong.
That's why I get them wrong, obviously. Yes, it is. Well, yeah, and you were right. It is just under 3 million. It's 2.95 million, as far as I know, which has gone. I think the total prize money has gone up by maybe 20% or something, or 10 or 20%. Unless you've done research on that and you know what it is exactly.
I don't know the percentage it's gone up by, but one thing that I definitely did read is I quite liked how the prize money had gone up considering sort of earlier stage players. So there was a bit more of a marked increase for those who win, say, in the first round, the second round, that sort of thing. Because, especially for Aussie wildcards that are picked, that's something that Tennis Australia has done a nice job of in terms of supporting their own. You get a home crowd win, you do actually get a financial reward out of it rather than just, a nice little news article. So, yeah, it's always good to see prize money pots increase, but yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah. I mean, we talk about before how tough it is to kind of make it on the tour and all the costs that are involved and all that stuff. I think they might have touched on that in that Breaking Point documentary, although they probably could have talked about it a bit more. Just how tough it is to make it on the tour, especially if you come from a country when they were talking about Onshibur in Tunisia or whatever. If you come from one of those countries where it's not, tennis is not funded particularly well or whatever, it's it's so tough to make it. So yeah, any increase that you can give in prize money and stuff is good. And I think the Australian Open are always trying to push that as well. They're always trying to market themselves as the best tournament for the players and stuff. So
yeah,
so that's good. Yeah. Okay. So you mentioned wildcards, which sort of links into this next question. So going back to last year, I want to know, in terms of participation, which country had the highest representation So at the Australian Open in 2022. So
Okay.
I'm pretty sure this is across all the like singles, doubles, all that stuff, and the wheelchair stuff, and yeah, all the different events.
Okay. Yeah.
So your options are USA, Australia, France, or Italy.
I don't have a clue with this one.
That link also links into like, you know, what countries tennis is more popular in and how it's easier to maybe make it in some of those countries and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Think of
for
which
sure.
country you think has got the highest amount of players.
So we've got Australia, USA, France, what was
And
the other one?
Italy.
And Italy. See, I know tennis is popular in Italy. Less so in France, but still relevant, obviously. I mean, one of the major Grand Slams is held there every year. It's a tough one. I'm going to say the USA. I'll tell you what, the reason I'm going to say the USA is I know that a lot of players in the United States do find it easier to get on a plane to Australia than they do to a lot of European tournaments. Not quite sure what the reason is, but there was what was it? There was an article I read about it, meaning that they target Australian competitions a little bit more at the start of the year. Obviously, basically, if you're there, you can play a few weeks worth of tennis. And so they all try to represent at the Australian Open because all the warm-ups are there and they all try and get through the qualifiers, etc., etc. So I'm going to say the USA for that reason.
Correct again.
Yes.
Damn it, I thought you were going to get that one wrong, the way you were kind of talking about it. Nah, yeah, it is USA. So they had 77 players from their country across the tournament. Do you know how many Australia had?
Probably less. I don't know, like
Yeah,
20?
obviously less. 71.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, because of like wild cards at your home tournament, right? Yeah, so you tend to.
I was going to say, I personally, if I was an Australian Open manager, I'd be like, yeah, well, let's give them to the Aussies.
Yeah. So yeah, even with wildcards, they still weren't able to match the number that came from America. I mean, it's interesting you say that they find it easier to come over here. Like, I don't really get why that would be because it's still further to travel, and then they still have to travel quite a way.
I think it's the element of once you're there, you're playing quite a while in tournaments, whereas because this is one of the major costs, right, of tennis, especially at that level where you're trying to break into first, second rounds, all that sort of stuff. So flight costs, those major movements around the globe in order to play tennis, that's where it gets particularly pricey. In terms of everything else, look, that there is public transport, hotels are always the same price no matter where you go. So it's an outstanding cost that, I'd rather buy a plane ticket for, say, £1,000 than I would 5 plane tickets all at 400 each to go to a different European country each time. And maybe in South America, and it's a lot of upheaval. So, yeah, I remember. I don't know where I saw this, but it stuck in my mind. Just the idea that people in the United States they do like, for that competitive reason, the way that Australia runs.
Interesting. Maybe flights are also cheap. Domestic flights are cheaper here, maybe as well. I don't know. I always thought European flights would be fairly cheap, but I don't know. Yeah, I guess they got to bring their teams with them as well, haven't they, and all that sort of stuff. So. Yeah, there we go. Oh, look at that.
If they have teams.
Yeah, if they can afford teams. So, what are we on now? We're on 4 out of 4, aren't we?
4 out of 4.
It was me thinking
this was going to be 2023 right.
I thought this was going to be difficult. For me, yes, not for you. Okay, last question. So, again, these are stats from last year's tournament, because obviously it's easy to get stats when the tournament's done. So, in last year's Australian Open, I want to know, on the men's side, what was the highest average first serve in percentage? Okay, so you obviously do have 4 options. So those options are 68%, 72%, 76%, or 81%.
Quite hard to deliberate this one because they're all for first serves, yeah?
Yeah, so average percentage of getting your
Average
first serves
first
in.
serve percentage in rate. Not win rate, in rate.
In rate, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's hard to deliberate because they're all relatively respectable. As a professional player, you might be a wee bit disappointed in yourself if you got 68% in a match, but you wouldn't be too upset if you were holding second serves. But there's got to be a reason you're asking this question.
Is that?
I think so. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I'm trying to go through all these reasons in my head, but I'm
Don't
just going to go
overthink
with
it.
no, I'm not going to. I'm going to go with a gut feeling. I'm going to say 76%. I'm probably wrong, but I'm going to say 76%.
Drum rolls returned. Oh, correct.
Yes!
He's got it. I thought that one would be the one to catch you out because they're all pretty close together. But yeah, 76%. You know who it was? Probably might be a surprise actually who it was.
Oh, I don't know.
It was Sebastian Baez of all people.
Sebastian Baez. Interesting.
So is he a particularly tall player?
No, he's really not.
There you go. So it's not even wasn't even one of the tall players on the tour.
See, this is again all these reasons in my head. You asked a question and said, "Oh, the USA are very well represented. A lot of players from the States, for example, they're all quite tall." Um, Obviously, they prize that. The way tennis is taught in the States is you should be able to win with your serve. So that's kind of where the logic was, but it wasn't really there.
Yeah. So 76% actually might not seem to the uninitiated might not actually seem that high because maybe if you,
No,
you're just
that's
watching,
high.
it is high. But if you're, I don't know, you're just kind of fairly new to tennis, you think, oh yeah, these guys are pro players, they should just be able to get their first serve in, no problem. The fact that the highest percentage, 76, so that's basically 3 out of 4 getting like 3 out of 4 first serves in, right? That's the highest of anyone in a Grand Slam of the best players. So it's not like serving is obviously these guys are serving at like a high pace or whatever, but serving is like one of the most difficult shots in the game. Hence why you get two serves.
I think a lot of people don't realise that professional players, their second serve is still faster, or at least it's technically more interesting than the serves that most people at club level would use. We're talking spin, placement, accuracy, the pace, as you say. Again, the pace is a minor element, but you're hitting 130-mile-an-hour serves, then you're going to miss one out every now and then. So yeah, I find that quite interesting. And yeah, you're right. Serving's very hard. It's one of the most unnatural movements in any sport because it's almost like you're throwing something, but you're not. You're actually feeling the rebound as you throw your racket at the ball. So people try and compare it to, oh, it's fine. Men in particular are used to it because of hunter-gatherer and all this rubbish. But it's nothing like that whatsoever. Yes, it's like overarm throwing when you teach it to a junior or someone who's first learning tennis. After that, it's a tough movement.
Yeah, trying to teach it to people who haven't done like throwing or they've done other sports and stuff, and it's like, oh, it's a whole mess. But yeah, so even the whole point is like even the pro players, they're not just getting like pretty much all their first serves in or whatever. I mean, obviously, yeah, like we said, they're hitting at a high pace, but it's not like you shouldn't just expect to be able to get your serve in every time. Like it's not supposed to be easy. And even the pro players double fault as well. Like you might have they might double fault, I don't know, a few times in a match, a couple times. So even the best players can miss both serves as well. So a message to people out there who get frustrated when they're serving, which is pretty much everyone, is that it's difficult even for the top guys. So yeah, just bear that in mind, I guess, especially if you're starting out early days as well. Like that will take a fair amount of time to be able to kind of start hitting the ball sort of roughly where you want to hit it and just getting it over and in like more times than not, really.
Isn't there a saying that to become a master at something, you're meant to spend 10,000 hours, or for mastering a tennis shot, you have to hit it 10,000 times, or something like that. I'd say it's true with the serve, and even then, you've not mastered it. But expecting it to be fixed in an hour, or going to a coach and being like, yeah, let's sort this out, yeah, and I'll be able to serve fine. There's too many different elements and principles. And biomechanically, you barely know what you're doing when you're trying to implement these things. So, yeah, it does take time.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts. Yeah, there we go. So 5 out of 5.
Ooh.
Jeez.
I'll take it.
Oh, he's on the road. Yeah, underway. I'm gonna have to make it more difficult again next time, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
I think if I was answering those questions, I probably would have got 3 maybe.
What even if you'd made them?
Yeah. I had to keep checking. I'm like, wait, is that the right one? Just check Brilliant. The one that's got a tick by it. Is it that one? So yeah, there we go. In terms of obviously the Australian Open is going on at the moment. We're only in the second day as we record this. Nadal did edge through against Draper, and we got Novak starting today, and we don't. Yeah. Well, Murray's got a pretty tough first match only against Berrettini, which I'm sure Berrettini have probably gained a few fans if they've watched that documentary. Probably more for his appearance than for his playing, but
yes.
So yeah, I mean, what if we? Yeah, because Murray's obviously
Berrettini.
Yeah, Berrettini.
God. You're welcome. I can have that one for free.
My housemate just loves him now. Whatever gets you into tennis, I guess. Yeah. So, how do you see Murray going in that one? At least, like, obviously Murray is your favorite player. So.
Berrettini's in a little bit of form at the moment, since the United Cup and whatnot. So, wouldn't be surprised if Berrettini comes through it as the winner. But you can never count Murray out. I reckon he could be 70 years old and you could never count him out. There's always a little bit of upset left in him somewhere, waiting to crawl out of it. So, I'm not expecting a win, but, the spectacle will be fun. I mean, Murray, harder for me to watch, but...
Murray to lose in 4 sets, then.
Yeah.
A valiant effort. Because he...
you know how to translate me.
Did he get a set off him at the US Open? I feel like that was 4 sets.
Yeah. Oh, I can't remember now. It's crossed my mind.
That was like the third round, I think, that one. So, but that's the problem, right? Because he's getting injured. Well, he can't play as many tournaments. Getting his ranking up high enough is quite difficult. So now he's getting these difficult, early matches in Grand Slams and stuff, which is just like compounding the issue, right? It proves again how hard it is to kind of get up to that, that sort of top, 20 or 30 bracket, because you got to fight against that's kind of the seeding and the rankings initially. You got to get over that hurdle, and then once you get into the the top 20 or whatever, then you start to get easier matches to start with. I mean, obviously there's no easy matches, but then you can kind of cement your place a little bit better in that top 20 or 30. Like we've seen with Norrie, he's sort of almost set in that kind of top 20, and he's getting those kind of easier early matches in both slams and in kind of the other ATP competitions, and you can see that's kind of helping him progress a little bit more with his game as well. He kind of you always need match practice, don't you? And if you're going out in the first match in like most tournaments you play in, then you're never going to get into any kind of rhythm. So you can see that's helping him, and helping him just develop his game in general. He's kind of nice in matches, and playing the correct shots or the correct tactics at the right times. So yeah, actually, how do you see Norrie going in the Australian Open? How far do you think he'll get?
I'm expecting second week, and I largely say that because again he's been on good form lately, and I think he's always one to watch in the background. He's not the sort yet that I'm going to say he can win a Grand Slam, because there are still players in that top 20 mix who I think are technically better than Cameron Norrie is. But Cameron Norrie is very good at getting results, even with a shovel of the backhand, for example. So I think, it's very interesting. And I'm glad he's there because it does emphasize technique is not everything. You can enjoy and be successful in tennis without having perfect technique. But I would say that I think that that's part of the reason that will hold him back if he has sights on pushing further.
So yeah, I think with Noria, it's just now it's almost like you just say second week, like it's almost just an expectation, which is kind of showing how far he's come. Flying the flag for the Brits. He's an adopted Brit now, basically. Yeah, it's no longer Murray flying the flag, sadly. Just got to rub it in. Sorry. Okay, let's get our final predictions of who we think is going to win the whole thing. I think I kind of know where we're going to go with this. Yeah, there's the eye roll.
Go on. You give us your suggestion first.
Just because you've done it like that, I'm going to say Medvedev.
Interesting.
Yep. I'm going to go with Medvedev. So he obviously he should have won it last year. Let's be real. Like Nadal, yeah, it's a great story and all that, but it was on Medvedev's racket and he should have won it, really. I think he was 3-2 up. He was like love 30 up on Nadal's serve. He had him where he wanted him. And then he just made like a couple of errors that he wouldn't normally make. And then he got
the yips.
Yeah, I don't know if he got the yips, but he gave Nadal.
That's getting the yips. You don't lose 2.5 sets like that without being the yips.
Yeah, but also he just gave Nadal that tiny little like opening, and then Nadal started to like believe a little bit more again, and then
of course,
a bit of a runaway train after that.
You can't give any champion, especially a Spanish champion, any sight of anything. They have to be down and out defeated. Otherwise, I don't think it really happens. Their mentality is just too strong.
Yeah. So I'll go with Medvedev. Who are you going to go with?
Well, it will be no surprise to you that, in my opinion, I think on the men's side, Novak Djokovic is the most likely to win the tournament. And I'm going to say that because he has a point to prove this year. And that point to prove is I should be here after the saga of last year. So, in many ways, if he wins it, it's a little bit of a fairy tale story. And you may want to edit this out, but it's a bit of a fairy tale for you as well.
Well, it would be his 10th title as well, which would be pretty incredible when we think of Nadal at the French Open. He's won like 14, Federer winning 8 at Wimbledon, 10 at the Australian Open would be pretty.
It would cement him as probably the GOAT of hard court tennis. Like Nadal is the GOAT of clay court tennis and Federer the GOAT of grass court tennis. I think that would be a nice way to think of them all as well, post that 3.
Yeah. All right. And then on the women's side, again, probably no surprises. Who are you going to go with on this one?
No, let's continue the theme. Who are you going with?
Okay, I'm going to go with Iga. Seeing as you've allowed me to have the prediction first, I mean, I saw her match yesterday. She actually had a really tough first round match against Niemeyer, who's, I think was it the French Open? It was one of the Grand Slams last year. They had a really tight match, and like Niemeyer just hits like power and flat, and it's like an absolute nightmare. I think pretty much any other top player who had they drawn her probably would have lost. Or would have definitely gone to 3 sets and squeaky bum time. So Iga just stepped it up like just when she needed to. She was a breakdown in that second set, and she just kept fighting, kept going, kept trying to create opportunities, and then eventually when we got to like 5-4 or something, she managed to break through then, and then she just dominated the last kind of couple games. But yeah, I was pretty impressed with that. Like it's mentality, isn't it? Really, with these top players, they just
100%
don't step 100%. Back at all. So yeah, that's my prediction. What about you?
See, you've gone head first, number one, most likely to win it. Nice, I like that. I'm going to go with the measured, here's a couple of options, and then choose one of them. So the first one is, well, Team USA obviously won the United Cup. I think Jessica Pegula was outstanding. And I would love to see her win it, actually, and largely because, obviously it goes into that pool of, okay, it's not just Iga at the top of her game now, that there's a couple that might start to challenge for it, which always makes, like we had with the big 3 or 4, however you want to think about it in men's tennis, definitely creates a little bit of intrigue. People get to back their corners. It becomes almost like a team sport, with everyone rooting for the one person. So Pegula would be a nice shout. But at the same time, you can't discount Anshabur, always in good form. Badosa, Sakari, they're doing well. But at the same time, my outside idea would be Coco Gauff. And again, we're looking at Team USA here in terms of, the possibilities. But yeah, I'm going to go with Pegula as my actual, I think this could happen. But, there are others that could be in with a very good shout here.
Yeah, I forgot about that. She didn't she beat Iga at the United Cup? She did. She thrashed her. Iga was crying and stuff. But that'd be a great final, I think. Well, I'm not sure if they're in opposite halves of the draw, but that would be.
Oh yeah, I don't know about that one.
So yeah. So that's your prediction. Let us know your predictions, guys, and also how you did on the quiz and all that sort of stuff. And just see how this Australian Open unfolds. Like, will it just be the the normal predictable winners, or is someone going to throw a spanner in the works there? That's why we watch it, because we never really know exactly what's going to happen.
That would be horrible if we did.
That's the old sporting cliche, isn't it?
Yeah.
So if you enjoyed it, also give us a follow on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, YouTube, like it, share it around, and subscribe. And we will see you in the next one, where we're probably going to talk about the new Netflix documentary, Breaking Point. Ooh, how exciting.
That means I need to binge watch that in the next week. Well, I say binge watch that. It's very doable. It's only 5 episodes.
Yeah, 5 episodes. All right. See you later.